Hi everybody. So I thought I'd do a quick video about tangs in a reef aquarium. As you can see, I only have one tang, and that's for a good reason, and I'll explain that in a moment. My tank's 200 gallons, so technically I could have more than one tang, and I have tried more than one tang in the past. I did have a Desjardins tang, which he was quite large, and I actually outgrew a 200 gallon tank in probably less than a year. So, and he was a lot bigger than the purple tang. I've had him for several years, and so there wasn't a whole lot of aggression there because he was the boss. The Desjardins was the boss. After I traded in the Desjardins, since he outgrew the tank, the purple tang became the boss. And so, and he is a Zebrasoma tang, which are the most aggressive tangs besides maybe the acanthurous versions. And they have the tang-like scalpel, and they can use it to inflict severe damage. So, but he does good all by himself. I've decided not to. I did try once a small yellow tang. He killed it within minutes, if not even less than that. But he does really good. He cleans up the tank. He picks up algae off of stuff. He, cleans the back walls. He cleans rock. I don't have a whole lot of algae in the tank, but he does clean. He does a good job of, cleaning up everything. I am not a big fan of adding multiple tanks in a 200-gallon tank. If I had a tank twice this size, that'd be different. And then I would probably add them all at the same time. Definitely add them all at the same time. And if you noticed lately, the purple tangs, I bought him. He was 150 bucks. That was several years ago. They've gone up to anywhere. I've seen them as high as $500. So they've definitely gone up in price. But I would always recommend to people, if you have a 200 gallon or less, I'd stick with one tang to a tank. And that's just my own opinion. I mean, anybody can try, whatever, but I would definitely stick to that. And you always got to keep in mind that tangs have don't have much of a slime coat, so they are susceptible to marine ick, velvet, and other things, more so than a lot of other fish species. So keep that in mind. Also, and they can be very aggressive. So, but when I got my passer angel, he kind of took over the tank, and he's the boss, and the tank knows that and stuff. But the wrasses in the tang, the rest of the fish, they don't really, they just stay out of his way, and they constantly are swimming. And tangs are just, if you want a lot of motion in your tank, a tang is great. But I definitely recommend the Zebrasoma species over all others. Even though it's people like the Achilles tang, and those are acanthurous. The powder blue, powder brown, all that kind of stuff. But as far as hardiness goes, I would say the Zebrasoma tangs are definitely the hardiest of the bunch. And like, this is a 200 gallon, and purple tangs get to be maybe 9-10 inches full grown. If you have a bigger tank, again, I would, you could give it a try, add them all at once or whatever. But keep in mind that a 6-foot tank appears to be very reasonable, because they do swim constantly back and forth. So swimming room is very important. If you have a lot of rock, a lot of livestock, your tank's less than 6 feet, that could add extra stress on the tank itself. So those are just a few recommendations I've noticed. When I had my 80 gallon, I had a couple, not all at the same time, but I did have a yellow tang in there. I had a convict tang in there at one time. And after a while, they just aren't happy, and you can tell that because they'll get extremely aggressive. They'll start chasing everybody in the tank and causing all kinds of upheaval, and yeah, it's a mess. So they'll let you know when they're unhappy with the surroundings. But it seems like a 6-foot tank is the best. And there are smaller tangs, like for example, the bristle tooth tangs. Yeah, they'd be perfectly fine in a 70, 80 gallon tank. You know, so like, but any of the bristle tooth family, they stay a lot smaller, you know. But there's definitely a great addition. I think every tank, if you have the size, the room, you should definitely have one tank. They do more than just, for looks, you know what I mean? They kind of are a utility animal, you know. They go, like up here with my SPS coral, they clean all around it, and he's meticulous. That's all he does all day. So so he's always picking at stuff. But the purple tang has always been my favorite out of them all. But again, I would try this, if you're new at fish keeping, I would definitely try a Zebrasoma. But again, if you do the Zebrasoma, I would recommend a 6-foot tank for sure. I mean, you could start them out smaller in a 4-foot tank, but you will have to be prepared to move them up to a 6-foot tank eventually again, because as you can tell from just this video alone, I mean, he's swimming back and forth, I mean, everywhere. Here he is. Here he is over here now, picking off the back wall, but he's constantly in motion. One side of the tank to the other. So, but again, and if you have somebody that has if you have a large tank, 300 gallon, 6-foot, 8-foot tank, multiple tanks, I would recommend putting them in at the same time if you can. They are tangs that probably should be quarantined if you have the setup for that. I, however, did not quarantine. I don't quarantine my fish, and that's just my personal preference. But other than that, and also, I got mine from a local fish store. And they were doing a tank breakdown from a customer who was getting out of the hobby, and so he came from their tank. So he was eating like a pig from day one when I got him. They do eat mysis. He's mysis like a pig, like everybody else, but he does have to have his greens. So seaweed goes in once a day, one sheet per feeder. Angelfish thinks that's his, obviously, but anyway, the purple tang can go up there and get his seaweed. My wrasses eat the seaweed too. So, but yeah, he's always cleaning something. So, anyway, definitely a good addition to any kind of reef tank. So, I hope you guys are able to learn something. But he definitely, I know everybody makes fun of like Tang police and they say different things on forums. And there is a reason behind. I'm all about, what people do with their own reef tanks, and if they make a mistake, they make a mistake. We've all done it. That's up to you. Whatever you want to stock your tank with, that's up to you. I'm not in the position to judge, that's for sure, and I won't judge anybody. But from personal experience, they definitely need, an 80 gallon was not big enough for a Zebrasoma. I had a bristle tooth tank at one time in there, a yellow-eyed coal tang, and he did very well, no problem. But they don't get very big. So that was no problem. But the bigger the tank, you can start looking into the Acanthurus, kind, put them in all at once, try that, but always be prepared for, all fish are individual. I can just tell you my personal experience. So all fish are individuals, so be prepared to have a plan B ready to go, where you can trade them back in at the fish store or whatnot. My fish stores will give you 50% credit. When you trade them in. So that is about the gist of that, everybody. So thank you for watching. If you like it, subscribe and forward it or pass it on if you want. I'll be happy. Any comments or questions, I'll be happy to answer those as well. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day and happy reefing.